How was your week?
Um, Pretty good. Pretty
Yeah.
good. I had an extra day off at the weekend, so
Oh,
that
nice.
was nice. We were off Friday for
Yes.
Juneteenth, and then I took Thursday off, so it was a nice 4 days. It
Oh,
was
nice.
nice. Yeah.
Excellent.
How about you?
All good. Busy week, but it's been good. So
Yeah, yeah. Where are you located? What?
I'm in Newton, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. Not far. I'm in Connecticut.
Oh, okay, not too bad. Um, should I approve or read AI meeting notes? I guess I can approve that. Sure, why not? Do you all use a specific AI program for
It's with
stuff?
our teams, I think.
No,
It's
got it. Hello, Sarah, Allison, Lori. Good to see
Hi.
everyone.
Hello.
Gabriella.
I don't know why I'm not getting my video to work.
Oh, is it possible do you have like a slider that goes like a physical thing that blocks the camera?
Well, it could be coming from my laptop. Let's see if I can select a different
Yeah, that is
camera.
fine.
Maybe that
Um, all right, we've got Michaela, we've got Emily, Ellen, Scott, welcome. How is everyone? I see Joe.
Doing well, doing well. How are you?
Great. Do we have some folks that we didn't have last time? Is that what I'm?
I was assigned in initially, but had a click off, had a couple other things going on, so I apologize about that.
Oh, no
But
worries.
nice to speak with you.
Yep, nice to speak with you.
Hey Jeff, I wasn't on last time either.
Okay. Well, it's nice to meet you. There was a link to a video that may have gotten shared with you. I don't know if you had a
Yeah,
chance to watch that. If not, we can get it to you afterwards. So,
yeah, I got the link. I have not watched it.
okay. I will just say if you ever miss and you need to listen to the video, I listen to everything at 2x, so I will not be insulted if if you speed it up and do it in a half an hour.
Nope.
But please show up. It's better that way. It's definitely more fun. All right. Well, great to see everyone. I don't know, Julia, are we waiting for more folks?
Um, this looks like majority. I think a couple people had messaged me they're going to be a little bit late, so people will trickle in. I'm sure. But in and out.
Awesome. Well, no worries. Well, great to see everyone again and a couple of you for the first time. Looking forward to kicking off our second session together. Got some, I really enjoyed the opportunity I realized we were split up into two groups last time, so I really enjoyed the opportunity to sort of meet the group online and then to meet the group live in person that was in Boston. And it was great to chat with you all. And Julia and I talked a little bit afterwards, and I got some great feedback from folks and whatever. And I think what I wanted to share with you is we're gonna keep talking about some of those frameworks that we went through last time, but we are going to I'm going to try and make this even more sort of focus on real world challenges today. So there's going to be quite a few opportunities for breakouts to get to know each other and so forth. So, and before I forget, and Julia may have sent this to you already, but in case you didn't get it, I'm just dropped into the chat a PDF that was just sort of a one-page overview of the frameworks that we talked about last time. But you're welcome to download that, or I think Julia sent it to you already. So, um, all right, let me do this. I'm going to share my screen. See if I can do this correctly. All right. So week two, we're going to be doing today, we're going to be talking about managing up. Um, but just to remind everybody kind of how this course is going to work, week one, that was last week, we talked about the roles of the middle leader. This week, we're going to talk about the doer role and specifically focus on managing up. Then we skip a week because of the holiday, and we will talk on 7/7 about the leader role, leading teams. 7/14, we'll talk even more about the leader role and specifically dive into giving feedback. Week five, we'll talk about the influencer role and influencing others. And then week six, we'll talk about growing into your role and managing your career. I realized somebody pointed out to me, Julia, I think you pointed out to me, but that I had put accidentally 8/7 on this chart. So I have fixed it. That last date is actually 8/4. So hopefully I didn't confuse anyone too much. So the first thing I wanted to do was just bring up the simple framework that we talked about last time once more and just remind you of this idea that as you move into a management role or as you sort of evolve in your management role, that you're really evolving three roles at once. There's the doer role, which is that role that represents the relationship between you and your manager and is all about building credibility. That's what we're going to be talking about today. The second one is the leader role. This is the role between you and your team, which is all about creating capacity in your team. We'll be talking about that next week and the week or in 2 weeks, and then the week after that. And then week five, we'll talk about the influencer role, is about commitment that you get between you and your peers and other senior leaders that don't report to you. So I wanted to stop sharing for a second. Those of you who were on the call last week have seen this, but some of you, this may be new too, is I'm gonna grab a poll here and I'm gonna hit launch. And so the question here is, as you think about those three roles, doer, leader, and influencer, which role, I'm just interested to hear which role, now that you sort of are familiar with those three, do you feel like you could use more support and more tools? And I believe it'll allow you to answer, you can click more than one answer. So let's see what people say. All right, leader, influencer, all of them. I see some. Awesome. All right. So I think the most interesting thing is that the topic we're going to hit on today is the one that people feel like they've got figured out. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if today's topic is here. Let me let people finish. So you probably all can't see what I'm seeing because I can see as you fill in. So I've got two more people I'm waiting on, but I think one of them is the note taker. So I'm gonna end the poll and share the results. So hopefully, are you all able to see the results now?
Yes.
Awesome. So looks like a lot of folks really interested in, so we've got a split sort of 8 and 8 on leader and influencer. Like I said, we're going to spend a lot of time on that leader role. We're going to definitely spend some time on that influencer role. 6 people, all of them love that. 2 people saying doer. Like I said, that doer role is the one we're going to focus on today. We're not going to focus so much on the role from the perspective of how to do your work and more from the perspective of how to manage your manager. So hopefully that all makes sense, but thanks for sharing that with me. All right, stop sharing that. All right, so let me share my screen one more time. Sorry, I'm getting my cluttered screen here. That's not what I meant to do. Let's see. There we go. All right, so again, we've talked about the simple framework. We also talked about that idea that I gave this long, hopefully memorable name, the radical extreme, highly effective atomic ownership mindset, which is just the idea that whatever the problem is, it may not be your fault, but it's still your problem to solve. So we're going to always keep that mindset in mind. And then the last thing we talked about last time was this idea of a toolkit and how do we create tools for each of those roles. And so we're going to really focus on that doer, gonna really focus on that doer toolkit. Again, if anybody's really interested in diving really deep into these, the book that I wrote goes into all of these. But today we're really just gonna focus on that doer role and building credibility. But before we do that, I gave some homework for everyone to do from last time. Hopefully, it didn't take too much of your time. What I asked you to do was to practice seeing things from the other person's perspective and try to understand why people do what they do. So let me just see if I can move the video feeds out of the way. So the first question I want you to do, I'm going to put you in groups of, I think, three. Um, and you're going to be with the same group, assuming I don't mess up the technology. You're going to be with the same group the whole session. So I'm going to send you off for about 5 minutes, and I want you to each share an example of where you put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So you took somebody else's perspective. How did that change your understanding of the situation? And did that change how you reacted to the situation? I'll drop these three questions in the chat before I send you off. Hold on. All right. All right. Did everybody see those questions in the chat? All right. So I'm going to send you off. The only thing I would ask is I'm going to send you off into groups. I don't think does anybody have their boss also on the call? No one?
Yes.
Yes. Who said yes?
Yeah, I did. Alan.
Alan. And your boss is?
Scott Sullivan.
Okay, Scott. So Scott and
Mine's
Alan.
also Scott Sullivan.
Sorry, what?
Mine is also Scott Sullivan.
Okay, so I need to make sure that Evie and Alan are not in the same group as Scott. Not that they're going to say anything bad about you, Scott. Just
Oh, we will.
so, well, maybe they will. I don't know.
Say something bad about Sully instead.
All right. All right. So I'm going to create. Let's see, how many of you are there all together? 1, 2, 3, 4 times 20, 22. So I should create, I think it's 7 rooms. We'll do 8 rooms. No, we'll do 7 rooms. All right. There may be a couple of rooms of 4. All right. And so I need to make sure that Evie and where is Scott? Sorry, I can't figure out where Scott went. Oh, there you are. So I need to move Alan. All right, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Move Alan to room 7. And I'm going to move. Give me 1 second to get this right to room 5. So Mary Ellen. All right. I will see you back in about 5 minutes. Give me 1 second. Ellen, Greg, Marianne, are you all able to?
Hello.
Greg, are you able to get into the room?
I am. I'm in. And can you guys see my video? I'm trying to turn it on. All right,
Oh,
I'm working on it. Oh, wait a minute.
you're still with me, I think. Did you not?
There we
If
go.
you click breakout rooms, it should ask you to join because it just says you're not joined.
Zoom is so COVID for me.
I
The
know, I'm
kids.
sorry. Let's see.
Oh, I hate
Are
this
you
camera.
are you not able to are you seeing Julia and Lori or no? You should be in a room with Julia and Lori.
We got it from Julia on Monday. Or
I'm sorry, are you talking to someone else or talking to me?
Jeff, can you hear us?
Me? I can only hear
Yeah.
you. Are you talking to someone else?
Yeah. Yeah, Karina, can you hear Jeff? Yeah, Jeff, I think it's just you and I are connected.
Yeah,
Weird.
that is weird. Oh, you know what? It's weird. I have you in two places. Do you have two devices connected?
Oh, okay. Let's.
Or you're in with Karina and Evie, but you're also in with me. I don't understand. Let me see. How do I? There we go.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yes, there, there, there was a technology glitch, and I was in a room with Karina, and Karina reports to me. So I think
Oh,
Jeff was able to redirect me. I'm not really sure, but I'm glad to be with you too. Jeff, can you still hear me?
I can. You appear to be like logged in two different places. So I'm just gonna mute one of you, and then if that, hopefully that doesn't mute you in your
I,
other.
I
Did that just mute you in both places? What's going on? Welcome back. We had some little weird tech glitch, but whatever. Hopefully you all didn't have a tech glitch.
No.
No, good. I think folks will probably be back in another 10 seconds. I think they had left. All right. Welcome back.
Jeff, does it look like I'm good on your end now? I think
You
I've.
now seem to be only one of you,
Okay,
so that's excellent.
that's
We,
good.
we had multiple Gregs.
The world doesn't need two of me. Believe me.
No worries. All right. So, let's see. So my question for you all, and actually if you could each drop into the chat and then we'll see if anybody wants to share, but just what's one thing that you learned from that exercise? And just drop something in the chat. It does not need to be a paragraph, just a bullet point. Interesting. Okay, everybody. So here's all have encountered similar situations. Interesting. Learning to take a moment before you respond. I like that. To slow down, listen carefully, not become reactive. Understand the why before reacting. Understanding the other side. Any other thoughts? So I hear a lot of pausing, making sure you take a second before you react. Listen, then react. Practice the pause. All right, this is great. Great learning. Anybody want to share any insights or thoughts before we move on to the some more stuff as or any specific examples or whatever that you want to share? Don't all jump in at once. But I like that everybody is coming out with a very similar, it seems like everybody's coming out with a sort of a similar idea is that this idea of if I take a second to stop and think, why is this person behaving? Even just that simple question, why is this person behaving this way? It can really change the way you react. If if you ask your I don't know, a direct report, if you ask a direct report to do something and their reaction is to, get annoyed, why might they be getting annoyed? Well, there's lots of reasons why your direct report might get annoyed. Maybe they don't know how to do it. Maybe they're just drowning in stuff. Maybe somebody else gave them something to do today and they don't, there's a million reasons. And so I think this is a really interesting idea of like pause, like you all said, listen and before you react. And then sometimes the best thing to do is just get really curious. Hey, I noticed that when I said that, when I asked you to do that thing, I noticed that a little bit of frustration or whatever you want to call it, and just wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what's going on, or what was that reaction when I just asked you to do this, right? That's probably more something you would do with your direct reports and not so much when you're managing up. But just that idea of I can stop and wonder why is this happening? Why is this person doing this? This, by the way, works just as well with your kids, your spouse, your family, whatever. It's why are these people reacting this way? All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. So, all right. So, but today we specifically want to talk about this situation of how this works when you are dealing with your boss. That's what managing up is all about. How do I understand why my boss behaves the way they behave, and how do I interact with my boss in a way that gets them, that creates a situation that works for me and for them. So I'm going to share with you a definition or an idea that I shared last time, and we'll dig into more next time. But I wanted to remind you of this idea of the goal of leadership, remember, is to build capacity. And I shared with you last time that this was to create the conditions where you can trust your team to function at a high level, even when you aren't there. And we're not going to dig into this as much today as we're going to dig into next week. But I want to ask you a rhetorical question about this, which is, I'm asking it as a rhetorical question because some people have their manager on the call, right? Does your manager understand this? Do they trust you? Do they let you make decisions? And then there's a question at the bottom there, which is, should they? And I want to make a distinction here as you're thinking about this rhetorical question. Does your manager understand, or these rhetorical questions, does your manager understand this? Do they trust you? Do they let you make decisions? Should they let you make decisions? There is a difference between trust and trustworthy. In other words, does your boss trust you? Is not necessarily the same question as are you trustworthy, right? Trustworthy means that you internally know that when your boss asks you to do something, that you will get it done. That's trustworthy. I'm worthy of trust. But that doesn't necessarily mean that your boss trusts you, right? So what we're going to focus on in managing up is not the trustworthy side. Yes, you should be trustworthy. If your boss asks you to do something, make sure you do it. Do it well, get it done on time, hit deadlines, all those important things. But the interesting question that we're going to think about right now is how do I get my boss to trust me even when I'm being trustworthy and they don't seem to trust me? That's actually where you often see things like when you see micromanaging and so forth is, and we talked about this last time with my example of George is George didn't trust me. That didn't necessarily mean I wasn't trustworthy, but I needed to figure out how to get him to trust me. That's sort of that whole point about credibility and this managing up piece. I want to touch briefly, by the way, on this question of should your boss trust you? And I just want to share, and I might have shared this last time, is should is one of the most unhelpful words in the language. The world is not as it should be, it is as it is. People don't do what they should do, they do what they do. And again, the mindset we're talking about is so what are you going to do about it? So if your boss doesn't trust you and you think they should, that's fine, but the should is unhelpful. The reality is you're trustworthy, your boss doesn't trust you. How do you get them to trust you? That's what managing up is all about. I like to tell people that there are a couple of elements of trust at work. The first is, does your boss trust you to get the work done? The second is, does your boss trust you to get the work done on time? The third one is, do they trust you to get the work done well? And the last one, which is the one that I think often gets missed in managing up, is do they believe they can trust you to get the work done without drama, right? You're not going to get upset. You're not going to get frustrated. You're not going to, walk out in a huff. You're not going to roll your eyes or whatever. Do they trust you? So these tend to be the elements of trust that we're looking at when we're dealing with work. So I'm going to put you in another breakout. I'm going to try to put you in the same rooms as before. Um, so the question is, what is the question I want you to think about this time with your breakout group is, what is the big, now you can see why I don't put people in with their managers. What is the biggest opportunity or challenge with your current manager? And that could be, this doesn't have to be, like you may have a great manager, but there's always some opportunity, right? Consider the situation. All I want you to do for right now is consider the situation from their perspective. What element of trust or credibility is creating this challenge? So let me stop sharing. I'm going to drop this um, set of questions into the chat. Okay, does everybody see the questions in the chat? Yeah. All right. I'm going to try to send you into the right breakout rooms. And Greg, you're supposed to be in the one that's with Julia and Lori, correct? Is that where we ended up with you? Anyway, let me know if I put somebody in the wrong room. Or I'll see you back in about 5 minutes. Scott, are you able to join the room? Oh,
I
you
didn't get a link.
you were what oh, that's weird. What group who
I
room
was with Doug Johnson.
Okay. Why is it? That is weird. Okay, I need to assign you to room 5. Yeah, somehow you became unassigned.
I dropped from the call accidentally, and then I
Oh, okay.
popped back in. That's probably what it
Okay.
was.
Now where did you go? Here we go. All right. Room 5. Assigned to room 5. All right. Did that work?
Thanks.
Yep. Sorry about that. Back. Wait a couple more seconds. You all jump out as soon as I end it. Everybody else waits until the end of the scene.
The first one's back.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. You're raring to go. Um, it's always weird when you wait until the end because then it's like you're in the middle of a sentence and then it just cuts you off. So, all right, here we've got some folks coming back. All right. Let's see, we've got everybody's coming back.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Welcome back. So here's what I want you to do. I was going to do this as a poll, but I think we're just going to do it in the chat. I'm interested in whether there were any common themes that came out. And if your boss happens to be in here and you don't want to write it, have somebody else in their team can write it. but um, but were there common themes or did you all have different challenges that you brought up? So let me know if there were common themes that people came up with. Drop them in the chat. Anyone have anything? Are people typing away or are we? There we go. Here we go. It was common. There's trust and we learn from each other. All three of us feel supported by our managers. We're new to our roles, so we're navigating those. We all felt our managers trusted us. Excellent. All right. Anyone else have anything they want to share? All right. I'm going to tell you a little story that happened about a year and a half ago, I guess almost 2 years ago now, that I wanted to share with you to just add another idea um, into how to think about managing up and how to approach anything with your boss. And by the way, I'm going to use an example of a challenge with your boss, but this could be an opportunity. Like, how do I approach my boss because I want to get promoted? Right? It doesn't have to be that my boss is bad or mean or whatever. I'm going to use micromanagers because clearly I have, some, trauma from George or whatever, from whatever it was 30 years ago. Um, so, um, but what I wanted to share with you is about a year and a half ago, I was talking to, or I got a note from this woman who works at in the advancement office at the school where I did my MBA. And I think everybody knows the advancement officers are the people that ask you for money, right? And so she sends me a note. She was going to be in Boston and she says, I'd love to catch up for lunch. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get asked for money, whatever. So we end up having lunch. And she actually, halfway through lunch, she's like, oh, I had an ulterior motive. And I thought, here it comes. But actually, I was completely wrong about what it was that she wanted to talk to me about. She'd actually read my book. My book had just been published and she had read my book. And she said, Jeff, I read your book. It was really helpful. My boss is a micromanager. It's soul crushing. And I said, well, tell me more. And she starts telling me sort of what's going on or whatever. And I shared with her all the things that we talked about last time and then some more things I'm going to tell you about in a second about how do you deal with a micromanaging boss. But the fundamental idea was the problem with a micromanaging boss is that a micromanaging boss doesn't trust that you're going to get the work done well on time, the way they would do it, whatever it is. And you need to build that trust with them, right? So, um, so I shared all that with her and I told her, I said, the thing you need to do is just send your boss at the end of every week, just send them a note saying, here's all the things that I did and here's what I'm going to do next week. And I said, this will solve the problem. So let me share my screen for a second here. All right. Oh, yeah. So what I wanted to do is point out, so remember I showed you this list of the tools for the doers. The tools for the doer: get into the details, have a can-do attitude, find a better way, manage your manager, and learn from every boss. So, um, you may remember these, or maybe not, from last time, but I shared last time all the things that George was probably thinking. And this is probably true of anybody, any boss who's a little bit unsure, insecure, not feeling confident that everything's going to get done. So they often are thinking, um, I'm the only one who knows anything around here. So the question is, do you know your stuff? Do you know the details? And so that's why getting into the details, really making sure that you are an expert in your job and can answer the questions that your boss asks you, that will help build trust, right? Everyone is always complaining and pushing back. So the interesting question here becomes, can you be counted on? Or the tool is, the way to describe the tool is, do you have a can-do attitude? Does your boss believe that when they ask you to do something, you're like, I don't know if I can do that, but I'm gonna go figure it out, or I'm gonna go dive into it. I'll get back to you if I'm running into any problems, whatever. Do you have that can-do attitude? The work still needs to get done, so I have to do everything. So the interesting question that your boss is wondering is, are you somebody who helps delivering the results? And so the tool that's often really helpful here is, can you find a better way to get the work done? Can you find a way to get the work done faster, higher quality, etc. Again, that's what's going to build trust. Your boss might be feeling, I'm completely overwhelmed all the time. The question is, do you solve problems, or do you add problems? Are you creating more problems to for your manager? That's the tool of managing your manager. How do you show up in your manager's office and don't say, hey, and you may recognize this from people that report to you. Do people ever walk into your office and say, I don't know what to do? Right? That's them dumping their problem on you. I'm sure you've experienced that with people that report to you. Think about how that feels when you do it, to your own manager or whatever, are you managing them? Are you solving problems? Are you avoiding giving them more stuff to worry about? And then the last one, in training new people, sucks up all my time and then they leave. The interesting question here is, do you respect your boss and the challenges that they have? And are you basically willing to learn from them? And when I say learn from every boss, you might be learning what not to do, but you're always looking at it from the perspective of, they've got this job. It's probably a big job. You have a big job, but they have, even broader range or span of control. They have to do all these things, right? So that's an example of how you might think about these different tools with, in terms of building credibility with a micromanager. So let me finish the story. Part two of my story is this. So I didn't hear back from that person from my MBA program until January of the next year. And she was back in Boston and she says to me, I'm going to be in Boston. Can we grab coffee? And so we go out and we grab coffee. And while we're out grabbing coffee, I asked her, so how's it going? And she says to me, it was going great. And I go, what do you mean was? And she says, well, I did all those things you said, and my boss completely changed. My boss was a completely different person, and it was much better. And then I went on vacation, and when I came back, my boss was right back to the way she had been before. And I said, well, of course. I said, because you can't change your boss. And she looks at me like I'm crazy. And she's like, what do you mean I can't change my boss? My boss was a completely different person. I said, no, you didn't change your boss. You can't change your boss. You can only change the way you prompt your boss. It's like Boss GPT. So if you think about it, humans have been prompting humans from the day we were born. You cry, you get food is a prompt, right? We're always prompting other people. If we prompt ChatGPT badly, we just go, oh, I probably prompted that person, the ChatGPT wrong. I'm going to try another prompt. But with people, we prompt them badly, and then they in return or they prompt us badly, we prompt them badly, and it just gets worse and worse. In fact, I'm going to share this. It's just a little picture and it hopefully amusing, but my next slide, sorry, it just keeps jumping around here. My next slide was my little eye rolling emoji because I, what I often see, and you may have seen this with people that report to you, there's something I call the corporate eye roll. And the corporate eye roll is your boss asks you to do something, and they're sitting there, they're maybe feeling a little insecure. They have a boss that's on their case, whatever it is, and you or your person that works for you, whatever it is, does what I call the corporate eye roll. They're like, oh, I can't believe you're asking me to do this thing, whatever. Now what happens is now they're like, I don't know whether this person's going to get it done. I don't know if they're going to get it done well. I don't know if they're going to get it done on time. Now I have more stuff to worry about. And now I'm annoyed. So now I prompt them and I say something like, fine, don't worry about it. I got it. Now that your boss has done that, now you're thinking, well, my boss just took this away from me. They don't trust me. Maybe I'm going to get, I don't know, I'm making this up and being a little dramatic here. Maybe I'm going to get fired. And so now you're starting to behave out of fear, and you do something else and they do something else, and it just escalates. And so it goes back to this whole point that you all made in the beginning is if you stop and pause for a second and say, why is this happening? Why is my boss doing this? Why are they asking this? And sort of have a little bit more, a few more options in your toolkit of what you might do in this situation. We'll talk about some of those in a little bit. Is that escalation won't happen. You'll prompt your boss in a way that is more, um, is more likely to get the kind of response that you want. So, for example, your boss asks you to do something, and you're like, I know that there's no way that I can do what my boss is asking me to do in the next week. I might say, instead of saying, there's no way I can do that, I might say, hey, can I get back to you on this and let you know, when I can, how well, how, if I can get this done on time or when I can get this done on time or whatever, right? Just change the way you prompt your boss. This is valuable both as you think about the relationship with your boss, since all of you seem to feel like you already have a trusting relationship with your boss. I'm going to say this can be valuable when you're dealing with your own boss, but this can also be valuable as you train the folks that work for you. Of if you notice they're doing things that are that are creating frustration in you, you can ask them to change behavior. I used to have a guy that would walk into my office, and every time he would walk into my office, he's like, I've got this, he would tell me about some problem, and I would start solutioning that problem. Well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Whatever. And one day he was like, Jeff, why do you always solution my problems? I'm like, well, you walked in and you said you had a problem. And so we agreed that from then on, he was going to walk into my office and he's like, can I just give you an update? So that I would know that he didn't want me to solution, right? So it's how do we change the way we're prompting each other? So on that note, what I wanted to do, actually, sorry, I didn't mean to stop sharing for one more second. I need to share. I'm going to send you into, again, the same groups. So I'm going to send you back into your breakouts. And what I want you to think about is going back to that biggest opportunity or challenge with your manager. Again, it doesn't have to be a challenge. It could be an opportunity. Maybe you want to get promoted. Maybe you want to get more visibility. Maybe you want to get more time with your boss's boss. Whatever it is, what is one way you might prompt your boss differently to gain their trust so that you can either overcome this challenge or take advantage of this opportunity? So I'm going to drop those questions into the chat. And I will see you all back in about 5 minutes. Welcome back. Hello.
Hello.
How's everyone?
Very good.
Is that amount of time too long, too short?
No, that's
Just
good.
I think it works.
I
Yeah.
think
okay.
I think it's just right.
Awesome. You never know. All right, we're waiting for a couple of folks to come back here. 10 more seconds. All right. Welcome back. All right, I was going to ask you a different question, but I'm going to shift gears a little bit and say I'm interested in, and you're welcome to put this in the chat. And if there are any brave souls who just want to have the conversation and say something out loud, you're also welcome to go off mute and do this. But what did thinking about this idea of prompting your boss differently, what does that, how might you use that when you think about the people that report to you? Anyone have any thoughts? Anyone want to, you can drop stuff in the chat, but if anybody wants to jump in, would love to hear thoughts. Just go ahead and jump right in if somebody wants to share.
I always try to make myself available.
Hmm.
I think that's the hard part. Just getting the one-on-one time that they need because they just probably need to vent.
Right. They need to vent. They might need direction. They might be
Yeah.
confused, right?
Most
Yeah.
of the time to vent.
Mostly time to vent. Absolutely. Yeah, people that we talked to last time, I think a little bit about this idea of one of the prompts that I shared with you last time was this idea of can I rant for a minute, right? Like, how do you train your folks to be like, hey, if you need to vent, that's fine. Just when you walk into my office, tell me that
I
that's
love
what
that
you're
idea.
doing. Yeah. Um, I got maybe rather than offer up instant solutions, ask what their solution is and how they came to this. So I love this, right? Because what we're really trying to do is get the folks on our team to think, more, right? We want them to use their brains, not just do the stuff, right? So I love that point about if you ask them what their solution is, then you can start to get not only are you asking them to think through and tell them what they think, but you're also getting a glimpse into how they think about the problem, which might tell you where there's something missing. Anyone else have any thoughts about how you might use this idea with the people that report to you? So as you think about this in terms of how you interact with your own manager, and you don't necessarily have to share this right now, but when you think about how you prompt your own manager, you are not only like, so, okay, well, maybe, maybe I want to ask my manager, um, hey, this is how I'm thinking about this problem. Do you have any feedback for me? Right? Or do you have any input? Right? As opposed to going to your manager and just saying, here's what I'm going to do, or what do you want me to do? So I wanted to share, sorry, I keep bouncing around here on my screen. So I wanted to share just briefly before we wrap up for the day, this little slide that I called a few of my favorite prompts. So my favorite prompt for getting into this idea of getting into the details, like let's say your manager is asking you something you don't know the answer. My favorite prompt for this is, can I get back to you on that? Right? Because most of the time people are like, yeah, can you get back to me later today, whatever. Um, so think about that both from the perspective of if your boss asks you to do something, or if you ask somebody else, somebody in your team to do that, would you rather they just try and pretend they know the answer, or would you rather train them to be like, can I get back to you on that? Um, my number two there, having a can-do attitude. These are just sort of fun. I'm gonna try and do the family-friendly version of the second one. So Swiss cheese, I had a boss that basically said when your boss asks you to do something and your immediate reaction is like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Just say to yourself in your head, Swiss cheese. You can all do it right now. And notice that when you say in your head Swiss cheese, the sides of your mouth go up and you kind of smile. And so it's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'm on it, boss, or whatever. Um, the other one I like is there's a meme. I'm gonna do the friendly version of it is it says being adult at work is changing blank you into okay, great. And so my team, I once told them this story and they used to tell me they used to when I told them that I asked them to do something a little crazy or they thought was not really doable, they would say, okay, great. And I knew exactly what they meant. And it was kind of a funny thing and whatever. But this is something that I've used with my team. Um, Finding a better way. One of the best prompts here, and this is great, whether it's for you with your boss or your people reporting to you, is to show up with options. And I'm sure many of you already do this, but a lot of junior folks will show up in their boss's office and say, I ran into this problem, I don't know what to do. Or they'll come in and they'll say, or maybe a better example for this one would be the boss says, I want you to do this, I want you to solve this way. And you're thinking, that's not a really great idea. One of the things you can do is you can come back and you can say, I looked into doing it this way. I also looked into doing this other way and I got this other, it seemed to work out faster and better. Would you be okay with us, looking at this other option? Some of you may have heard this idea of, has anybody heard the idea of yes and? It comes from acting or improv, but this idea that when somebody asks you to do something and you don't agree with it, sometimes the best thing to do is acknowledge what you do agree with. So yes, I agree with you that this is a really important thing that we need to do. And I would love to try this other method of doing it, whatever. So instead of saying yes, but, or just disagreeing with them, you can say, yes, I'd love to, this is something that makes a lot of sense, and I'd like to try this other approach or whatever. Manage your manager. We talked about the can I rant for a minute, but the other one that I think is really valuable is asking for help without being helpless. And I'm sure that this is not necessarily something that you all need to focus on, but your people may run into this. This is when they show up in your office. I don't know what to do. I'm completely helpless. I have no idea what to do. Tell me what to do. Train them to come and say, hey, there's this problem. Here are all the things that I've already done. Here are the things that I've tried. Here's what is working. Here's where I need some help. And then the last one, learn from every boss. I wanted to share the prompt here is to ask your boss, and this is what I always find people find very surprising. Instead of waiting for your boss to give you feedback, ask them for feedback. So in that micromanager example, for example, might say, I noticed that when I turn in a PowerPoint deck, you make a lot of changes to it. I would love to get to the point where I am able to do that independently. What would need to be true for me to be able to have more, autonomy or be able to do this on my own? That actually works really well with a micromanager, for example. Or if you want to think of it from an opportunity perspective, if you're trying to get promoted, I noticed that that there are opportunities to present to senior leadership. I would love to get some experience presenting to senior leadership. What would need to be true for me to get that experience? So that was what I wanted to cover with us in our hour today. I will see you on week 3, 7-7. We'll be talking about the leader role and leading teams. The homework for next time, and we have 2 weeks to do it, but I realize there's a holiday in there, is to have a one-on-one with your own manager at some point and to ask them for feedback. And you can use that idea of, I noticed that, whatever it is. I noticed that that there are opportunities for me to do X. What would have to be true for me to, get that opportunity or something like that? Or I noticed that, every time I do this thing, you make a lot of corrections. What would have to be true for me to be able to do that without or without as much support from you? I'm going to send you 2 very short articles as well via Julia. And with that, I think we have hit the hour. So hopefully you all have come away with something of value today, and I will see you all on the 7th.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jeff.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.